Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Coming off the big win on Thursday, you go over to Bakersfield, you lose that game. Do you feel like there was any kind of a, I don't know, letdown going over there, or what would happen over there, and how disappointing was it to lose that game, even though it's just a non-conference game?
Yeah, no, I don't think that there was any letdown. I think our team played well. I think Bakersfield played better. It came down to who had the ball for the last possession, and they knocked one down with pretty much .02 seconds on the clock. So there wasn't much we could do about it. A little disappointed that defensively, I felt like we didn't have as great a game as we'd love to have. But they shot the lights out in the second half. They took great care of the basketball. I'm speaking of the Roadrunners, of course. It's hard to win a game when your opponent only has 5 turnovers and shoots 58%. So, I think that we did well considering what our opponent was, what level they were playing at. But at the same time, we're disappointed. We would have loved to win every single game.
Unlike the men who are out on the road for a while, I mean, you guys are at home here now for the next 5 to this week. The importance of taking care of the home floor now, since these are the final 4 games here at home this year. Talk about that and making sure that you guys defend Mott Gym.
Well, I don't know that we have any particular emphasis on home or away at this stage. We're just trying to win every single game that we possibly can, and whatever venue that takes place at. Obviously, I think everybody wants to win their home games, and we're pretty happy if they split on the road. That seems to be the theme. But, the race is so close this year in the Big West. One game separates, basically 3 different teams, and so we're going to have to play well home and away. There's no question about that. Certainly playing Davis on Thursday, the league leaders, I think there's great incentive on our part. We've been watching film and trying to see some of the weaknesses. There's not many, but see some of the weaknesses that they might have and how we can defend things better. So we're really trying to focus on that and shore up what we can do against the structure that they have offensively and defensively.
Yeah, the game against Davis, very important, as you mentioned. Talk about that more, I guess, more specifically on the challenge of playing them. I know turnovers was an issue up there at Davis. So, how challenging will it be to, come down here?
Well, the turnovers is going to be a big part of this whole week, in my opinion. We had a lot of trouble up there against their zone, their 2-1-2 zone, and then Pacific just runs riot. And they had the same kind of ugly game against Davis. They took Davis into overtime, Pacific did, and they've got little tiny lineup, but they're just like little gnats all over the place, swarming. So both teams, I think, create turnovers because of their defensive styles, and they're very different. So we'll have to take great care of the basketball, I think, and be really diligent about what our game strategy is.
Hey, Coach, you showed me the picture last week. The picture was kind of part of the motivation last week. What's the motivation this week? Is it just getting that title that you guys have been talking about all year?
Well, I think that when we played Davis the first time, we learned a lot of things about them and some things that we could carry over into our next opportunity. I'm sure they learned a ton of things about us as well. We didn't have 2 of our inside presence players with Trotter out for that game. She had hurt herself in the Pacific game, so we're expecting to have her back for that game. She's obviously been playing, so we're expecting some good things from her. And then Bletcher was out that game as well. So hopefully with the kind of size that Davis puts on the floor, we'll have a little bit more size to match them. That's kind of our hope anyway. But they are a very, very good team. I think that the actual motivation in this case is one of taking out first place. It's not a cross-time rival. I think we have great respect for their program, the staff, right across the board. There's no animosity, I don't think, between the 2 programs, but we do want to play in first place. That's what we're after, and so I think that you'll see a team that's motivated to try to do that.
I'm hoping you don't say the coach cliche when I ask this question, but, is this the biggest week on your schedule? And don't say every week is the biggest week, but that's what I'm assuming.
You
after
took
all
out
those
my
years in
line.
Ellison. But
Jeez.
As far as, when you looked at the schedule, maybe weeks ago, months ago, is this?
Well, I think there's a lot of coaches that feel like they're probably one of the top teams in the conference. In my opinion, Davis and Cal Poly are the 2 top teams in the conference. And so if you're looking at any of those head-to-head matchups, I think that those are huge weeks, and you're going to see two teams competing very strenuously to try to take out the win. Certainly, I think that Riverside would like to argue that. I think certainly Santa Barbara would argue that. Fullerton would argue that. Irvine would argue that. There are a lot of very good teams. But as I said, it's really one game that can separate 3 or 4 different teams. So we don't feel like we're miles ahead of anybody. We feel like we have to make sure that we play and prepare as if it's a championship game every single time. And so even though Pacific might not have the respect from other opponents because of their record, we have great respect for them because they just totally made us look like we never dribbled a basketball before in our lives. So we know that we've got a lot of work to do.
Hey, Coach. The last time you played Davis, they came at you with a really balanced attack. I think it was 4 players scoring in double digits. What are you going to try and look to do defensively this time to confront such a balanced attack, I guess?
Well, I don't know that we can do much with their balanced attack, but we are going to try to take away their penetration drive. They did that very well against us. They might have a few more 3 attempts against us, and they're a great three-point shooting team, lead the league in threes. But we feel like if we can take one aspect of their game away, which they run a little flare screen or down screen pop, and then backdoor cuts. I mean, they just backdoor you to death with their little Princeton offense. If we can play that gap defense well and keep them out of the paint off of the penetration drive, then I think that we take one aspect of their very strong offense away.
And then, I guess, losing to them only by 5 when you played them last, what's the mindset or how high is the confidence of the team going into
I think
Thursday's
that they're
matchup?
very confident. I think they see that there's particular things that we didn't do well in that game. I mean, we returned the ball over like crazy, which most people do because, again, their defensive strategy is very effective. It's something that nobody else sees the whole year long. It's unusual. It's difficult to prepare for, and they have great length on the court. So, if we're not in an attack mode as far as shot fake or pass fake and get some penetration, then, it could be turnover, turnover, turnover. So I do think that we're trying to prepare for the weaknesses. As I said, as few as they are, there are a few holes in their defense, and we're going to try to find those holes.
All right, thank you.